Hello, it's going to be a short video before I send this back, mainly because I preferred the Asus Aura Edition 1000 watt. That's an ATX3. This is an ATX3. This is the MSI Meg one. It's 1300 watt. But I took the cables out and stuff. I'll show you those. You really can't knock them cable wise. They give you so many. It's insane how many they actually give you in there. I don't think you'll ever struggle to find a cable that you'll need. Some of them are kind of way old gen. I'm not even sure people use anymore with the Molex. But you get all your motherboard, CPU, SATA, loads and loads of different ones. You've got your 8 pin, and you also have 16 pin to 28 pin and 16 to 16. Cable quality wise, very much like Asus, not quite as soft but almost the same. They really do look like each other's. So yeah, they're really nice. They give you a few cable combs inside, so you can actually fit them all up. So those cables, which is most of them, can't knock them. Cable I didn't like is their 16 pin. I don't like this. This is the old EVGA kind of sleeving sort of thing. And when them cables look so nice like that, this really distracts. This should be like the Asus one where they all look the same. They're all uniform. This does not look good. This should have been something else. I understand that maybe whatever wires they have in here, they want to protect them. Maybe the sense wires, they want to keep them all wrapped up. So I can understand from that point of view, but they should have found something better looking than just this nylon shiny thing, because it distracts from the look of it. It's the point where if I was going to keep this, I would not be using this cable because it looks awful compared to the ones. I would have to sort out like a cable mod cable or something like that. Now, as for the PSU itself, it's small form type, which I've got my likes and dislikes about the small form. When they first came out, I was like, yay, look at that, smaller, loads more room and everything else. But the downside to that is unless you've got a really good fan or a good cooling solution, the fans are normally smaller, obviously because it's a small factor. Instead, some of the bigger ones are like 140s, these are 120s. Means that the fan is going to have to work more, and because it's a smaller space, any heat it does generate, it's kept in a smaller space, and so your fan might come on more. Now, if you've got a fan it comes with a really good quality fan, that's not so much of a problem, because even if it's on all the time, you won't really hear it. When I tried this one, the fan is really quiet, like the Asus one, so it's not so much of an issue with this one. Nicely laid out, and it actually comes with the intelligent cable like what the Corsair have. This one connects from your PSU to your motherboard, and that works through MSI Center, and that'll show you all the different voltages, and you can alter some things in there and that as well. That side of things was really nice. But coming back to the cables, one thing I really didn't like was how these cables fitted into here. They were really hard to put in, and one or two of them were extremely hard to get out, to the point of I actually thought one of the cables was stuck. Yes, it was the right cable. Really tough. And that's the same with this going into the GPU. Now that sounds like it's a pretty good thing where it goes in and it's hard to come out, so there's not much wiggle room, but it was hard to go in, and there was no kind of click or any kind of confidence from when it went in as to that it was actually fitted incorrectly. With the other ones, you tend to push them in and you hear that click, and you can see that they're pushed down. This one, you didn't hear the click, and I was also paranoid that it wasn't 100% down. It's kind of like 98%. It just, without showing you, unfortunately, it's hard to explain, but it just didn't give that satisfying yes, it's in there. And I didn't want to keep pushing and pushing on the GPU, because obviously that it's going to become a weak point and break. So I wasn't overly happy with how this actually plugged in. And that and its looks as well already set me on the thing of I'm probably not going to keep it. Then when I actually tried it and actually found that the ripple is slightly worse on this, even though this is a platinum and the Asus is a gold. Supposedly this only barely made it into what you class as the platinum range though. Also on the 12 volt when I was running Cyberpunk, I noticed that the voltage drop was just ever so slightly lower on this, and yet this again is a platinum and it's a 1300. So to me it was like, well, don't see any reason to upgrade to this one. This I haven't taken off because it's going back. There's no point. I try to not touch as much as I can if things are going back, but I think this flips over and it's silver for people who want to change the colors. I'm almost positive that that's silver on the side and you can flip them over. I think it's held on magnetically. Yeah, so it looks nice and it looks like it should do all the right things, but between the cables and how they fit in here and how they fit into the GPU, I wasn't going to keep it. Apart from that, everything else just a normal thing. I just wish that EVGA had done the 16 pin had moved on with theirs, but they're sticking to the old stuff at the moment, and obviously no one really knows what's going to happen with that company now, so which is a darn shame because their GPUs and PSUs and everything were always great for me. And when I did actually have any issues with the GPUs after many years, the sending back and doing the, I'm trying to think what you call it now, where you pay your money up front and they actually send you out a new PSU while you ship the other one back, so you're not left without a PSU. I can't remember what it's called now, it's gone off the top of my head. But that's a really good program. I think a lot of companies have done that now as well. So yeah, shame about them. I think some of it didn't come with this one, but I believe with some of their other PSUs that came out a little bit after this one, because it's like the first batch of the ATX 3, was on the 16 pin. It was yellow. This plugging in part was yellow, and so when the idea behind that is when you plug it in, if you don't see the yellow, it's in. If you can see a little bit of yellow, it's not fully in. Simple thing, but it looked as though it could be a pretty good thing. I'm not sure if the sleeving was on the newer cables as well, but anyway, yeah, it's a shame because I do like MSI products. It seemed to tick a lot of the boxes, but I'm just not happy with the 16 pin, and I'm not happy with how they actually go into the PSU and how they go into the GPU. It's too much pushing and shoving, and these things aren't cheap, so it's not one for me. The Asus one's doing grand at the moment. The really strange thing, which I don't think I've brought up on a video yet, is I have a temp probe on my going onto my GPU, and it sits on there on the bottom part where it connects into the GPU. And when I was using my EVGA and a cable mod cable, that one was I tested on Cyberpunk, and it was sitting maxed out after about an hour. I think it was sitting somewhere around about 57 to 58 degrees on there. Now when the Asus one came, I swapped it over, put the Asus cable one which came with it, which was a direct from the PSU to this, rather than the EVGA one. The cable mod one is 16 to 4 8 pins, whereas the Asus one is 16 to 16. With that one, when I put the actual temp probe onto there again, exact same place, run the exact same game, exact same place where the power draw is still exactly the same. And on there, the strange thing is, it now only picks up, I think it's about 49.50 at the most. So for some strange reason, even though all I've done is change the PSU and it's gone from a cable mod cable to the official Asus one that comes with the PSU, the temperature on that area has dropped by at least 8 degrees. Now that is really, really strange. I can't figure out as to why, apart from the fact that it's either going to be the plastics that they've used on here is different to what cable mod use, or the pinning on the inside. It's maybe better on the Asus one, and it's not keeping the heat as much. I really don't know, but it's not something which was like, oh, is it, isn't it? It was clear, totally and utterly clear. So much the fact that the alert I actually put on HW info, I've had to lower it because if I leave it where it was before, it probably wouldn't do its job. It would never get there. So I've had to drop it down by 10 degrees, which is really, really strange. So there's something in the makeup of that cable between the Asus one and the cable mod one, where the Asus one is really not getting anywhere near as warm as what the cable mod one is. Like I say, is it the plastic they use? Is it the pinning inside? With the Asus one, I will say, the Asus cable is something like that, where it's not all bound together. Now I've got some cable combs on it, which are holding it together a bit better, but on the cable mod cable, they're really tightly together. Now whether that's got something to do with it as well, where because they're all touching each other and they're close to each other, the heat is getting kept in more in the cables as it transverses down and into the end. Maybe that's adding a few degrees to it, I don't know. But that's a really strange thing. And that's one of the things I liked about the Asus one, was the actual cable end is running a lot cooler. So yeah, strange. Anyway, that's it. Bye.